Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another installment of Scott's Selections here for Sunday, September 15th. Before I get into the play of the day for tomorrow, I'll quickly just give you an explanation of what happened today. In terms of college football, didn't really like anything on the board besides the NC State play from the early afternoon from Wednesday's video, which ended up losing. We took it early at -6.5 since I knew it would go up to -7. It closed at -7, and NC State ended up losing outright. Didn't like anything else on the card. I know there were a lot of games, but I didn't want to force anything, so I decided to give that a pass. However, since I didn't technically give out a play for Saturday, instead to make it up to all of you, I decided to make a video. I'm going to make two separate videos for Sunday. One video I'm going to give out right now because of the fact that I want to get this video out nice and early so all of you can bet it before the actual game starts. The second one I'll make tomorrow, either morning or afternoon, or Sunday morning or afternoon, and it should be on either the Sunday night game or maybe even a baseball game on Sunday night. So all of you should have ample time to get those bets in. Sorry about the recent losing streak we've had. We've lost, I believe. I'm trying to remember what exact. I believe it's 2 straight. I think. I don't know. Either or. We were on a solid run before, and now it's starting to come a little bit to a crawl. But we'll look to bounce back with a winner in this one. And we're going to be sticking with the player props here, and we're going to be looking at a matchup between the New Orleans Saints and the Los Angeles Rams, which should be taking place at roughly 4:30 Eastern time. And in terms of this matchup, we are going to take Alvin Kamara receiving yards over 55.5, which is available at -115 on 5 dimes. I recommend 5 dimes for all of your player prop bets because they release the lines especially early. They also have the player prop builder, which a lot of other sites have started to build in, but 5 dimes, as far as I know, was the first one to do it. So they tend to be a little bit faster in terms of making player props than all of the other betting sites. But in terms of Kamara, reason why we like this one, first of all, Kamara in the first game of the regular season at 72 receiving yards against the Texans. If you also look at his numbers last year against the Rams, they ended up playing in the very infamous NFC Championship game, and Kamara in that game had 11 receptions for 96 yards and was targeted 13 times. In terms of the game itself, the Saints were actually winning a decent portion of that game, so game flow didn't really pay much of a factor in that one. Also, the Rams linebacking core consisting of Littleton and Matthews, I simply think will be too slow to keep up with Kamara, whose shiftiness should be able to create some openings in the passing game. Also, if the Saints fall behind early against the Rams in Los Angeles, there is a solid up chance for Breeze to start throwing exclusively. Kamara only had 13 carries in the first game, so he has not been that heavily used in the ground game, but he is still known for his insane receiving ability out of the backfield. Plus, the Rams in the first game of the regular season were terrible at guarding the running back. In the first game of the regular season, the Rams were able to beat the Panthers. However, that game was pretty close throughout, and Christian McCaffrey, who is known for being an all-purpose back, still got absolutely destroyed in terms of covering him, as in the last game, he ended up going for 10 receptions for 81 yards. So if you gave up 81 receiving yards to McCaffrey and 10 receptions, I expect similar results for Kamara. I think Kamara should be able to burn these linebackers for the Rams, and I think he should close the game with at least 70 receiving yards. So thought of that one. Yeah, Jamal, I understand from that. I don't really know what to think of that game as a whole between the Rams and the Saints. I think that game's a toss-up. I would lean to the Saints, I guess, because of the fact that I think they'll care more about this matchup based on what happened last year than the Rams will, because the Saints will treat this as a revenge game or something, even though it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But in terms of this, though, I do think that Kamara's receiving yard total is a little bit too low. I think it should be somewhere in the 60s. I think he will get there. So the play of the day for Sunday, September 15th, the early play of the day, will be on the Alvin Kamara over 55.5 receiving yards, which is available at 5 dimes at -115. I agree, Jamal. I think it should have been the night game, but unfortunately they decided to save the game for the Eagles and the Falcons after the Falcons pretty much proved in the first week of the season that they will probably not be a playoff team again. So I don't know. It should be the night game, but the Saints were the night game on Monday night, so I'm not surprised that they did not give the Saints back-to-back primetime games. Either or, that is my thought in terms of the player prop play of the day on that. However, since there are a decent amount of 1 o'clock games in the NFL, I will give out my leans for those, as the video I will be making tomorrow, or I should say in the afternoon, will be involving the either Eagles-Falcons game or potentially the Sunday Night Baseball game. So in terms of my leans for the NFL card, lean to the over 47 between the Chargers and the Lions. Lions defense fell apart against the Cardinals in the second half last week. Chargers defense didn't look that good. I know Derwin James is still injured. He'll be out indefinitely. And that Chargers secondary looked terrible. They couldn't stop the run in week 1 against the Colts. I think this game should be a little bit of a shootout. I think both teams should score at least 24 points. Lean to the over in that one. Other than that, looking at the Colts and the Titans here, I actually will lean to the Colts here at plus 3.5. Titans look great in week 1, but Cleveland's offensive line was absolutely terrible. And the Colts, despite having Andrew Luck pretty much out for the season as he retired, Jacoby Brissett is a decent backup, and the Colts still have one of the best offensive lines in all of football. I expect Mac to do pretty well once again on the ground. I still don't think Mariota is that great of a quarterback, pretty much a game manager. I think it'll be a lower scoring game. I think the Titans could win this game somewhere in the realm of 20-17 or so, but I definitely think that 3.5 is a little bit too much for me to bet with, or to lay, I should say, with Mariota. So for that reason, I'll lean to the Colts plus the 3.5 in that one. Other than that, looking at the rest of the card, lean to the Cowboys here at minus 5.5. I know Elliott will be on a touch limit, and he should probably only play in the first half, maybe 3 quarters. But Washington has a ton of people banged up. You have Jonathan Allen on the defensive line who's banged up. If you look at the actual depth chart or the injury report for the Redskins, it's kind of disgusting how many people are injured. Geis is now out indefinitely. He's on IR with an injury. You should be seeing Adrian Peterson and Chris Thompson handle the bulk of touches out of the backfield in that one. But in terms of the game itself, Kellen Moore's offense looked great in week 1 for Dallas. Washington looked good for a half, and then their defense fell apart in the second half. I expect the same thing to happen in this one. I expect Washington's defense to get exposed by Kellen Moore's new playbook, and I expect the Cowboys to win this game by at least a touchdown, so lean to Dallas in that one. Moving on with Seattle and Pittsburgh, I lean to Seattle plus the 3.5 here. Pittsburgh did not show me anything whatsoever in terms of that. So for me, I know Pittsburgh's at home. I know they usually play well in Heinz Field. I know Seattle didn't look great in week 1 either. Pittsburgh just has no weapons to me on offense. I know Juju's great. I know that Connor's pretty good. I think Connor's a little bit overrated, but overall he's still pretty solid. Seattle played as badly as you can play in week 1, and yet they still found a way to win. I'm not saying Pittsburgh won't win this game, but there's no way I'm laying 3.5 based on what Pittsburgh showed me offensively in week 1. I have to lean to Seattle here plus the 3.5. I think this game will be a nail-biter. But I expected both teams to finish roughly 8-8. So for me, I'm just not going to touch that whatsoever. In terms of the Green Bay and Minnesota game, a lot of money's come in on the under. It's gone from 46 to 43. I'll lean to the under as well. I know Cousins only attempted, I believe it was 10 passes in week 1. Vikings don't really trust him. I expect him to keep it on the ground with Cook. Green Bay's offense didn't look good either. They are trying to work on a more up-tempo style in practice this week, but they couldn't run the ball. Aaron Jones was pretty much useless out of the backfield. Rodgers was okay, but the Green Bay, just their weapons on offense are pretty much Devontae Adams and maybe a little bit of Jimmy Graham. That's pretty much it. I think this game will be lower scoring. I think it'll be somewhere in the realm of, I think it'll be a very close game, actually. I think it'll be 21-20. I think it'll be close, but I'll lean to the under on that one. Moving on, you have Buffalo and the Giants. Buffalo's in bet up from Pick'em to -2. I'll lean to Buffalo here. Personally, I hate the game entirely. I have no faith in Buffalo with Josh Allen, but the Giants don't care about winning, and you have Eli Manning, a quarterback, and their defense was terrible last week against the Cowboys. I'll pass. Moving on, I will take Jacksonville plus the 9 here against Houston. Houston's off of a short week playing Monday night. Gardner Minshew actually looked pretty good in week 1 of the regular season with the Jaguars in relief. I'm not saying Jacksonville will win the game, but I think they should lose this game by a touchdown or so. I think 9's too many points. Lean to the Jaguars in that one. Moving on to the Cardinals and the Ravens. I'll have to lean to the Ravens here, -12.5. Do I like laying that big of a price? No, but Arizona's offense looked useless for about 3 quarters before Detroit, I should say, took their foot off the gas. I'm not saying Baltimore's going to light it up like they did in week 1 against Miami. I expect Jackson to be more inaccurate in this one, but I expect Jackson also run a little bit more, as he should be able to move the chains by himself. Baltimore, I think, should win this game by about 2 touchdowns. They're at home, very solid home team. I think Harbaugh's a better coach than Kingsbury. I think Baltimore will be adjusted now that they have something on film to scout for Arizona. I think Kyler Murray will do some things, but overall, I think Baltimore will be too much to handle. Lean to Baltimore minus the 12.5 in that one. Moving on, you have San Francisco versus Cincinnati. Lean to San Francisco here at +1. I think they're going to win outright in this one. Total's been bet up from 45 to 46. I'm actually going to lean to the under on that one. I'm going to go against the line movement there. Lean to the under. Both teams didn't really show me much offensively. I know Cincinnati threw the ball a lot with Dalton in week 1, and Seattle was caught completely off guard. But overall, I know Joe Mixon will be out for this game, so I doubt Cincinnati will be able to run the ball. I think they'll become pretty one-dimensional. San Francisco's offense looked abysmal in week 1 against Tampa Bay, but their defense did look great. They had 2 pick sixes. I think they'll do a better job of covering Cincinnati's receivers without A.J. Green, with Richard Sherman and the likes. So I think that Cincinnati should struggle more offensively. Meanwhile, Cincinnati had 5 sacks in week 1. I think they should pressure Garoppolo enough. And Tevin Coleman's also injured, so that will lead to some issues potentially running the ball. I think this game will be very ugly. I think it'll be somewhere in the realm of 20 to 16 or so. I expect a lot of field goals. Lean to the under, but I think San Francisco is the better overall team, so I'll lean to the 49ers in that one. Moving on, you have the Patriots and the Dolphins in this game. Spreads at 18, up to 19 in some spots. I have no interest in this game at all. I'd have to lean to New England, maybe New England first quarter. But overall, I'm not touching this. There's no way I'm laying 19 in a game. In terms of the grand scheme of things, I think we all know Miami is either going to go 1-15 or 0-16, and New England's probably going to be in the AFC Championship game. But do I really think that Belichick's going to want to rub it into one of his assistants, who's now the head coach of the Dolphins? No. I think Miami could climb through the back door. I think New England will win comfortably, but 19 is a little bit too rich for my blood. Moving on, you have Kansas City and Oakland. Lean to Kansas City here. Oakland's had some injuries they've had to deal with. I know Jonathan Abram, the rookie safety, is out indefinitely, as he might be out for the year with a torn rotator cuff. Kansas City is missing Tyreek Hill, but I don't expect much to change in terms of Kansas City. They were great in week 1. Oakland's offense looked pretty good, but their defense is now going to be useless without any improvement to the secondary. Kansas City should score at least 35 in this game. Lean to the over and the Kansas City side -7. Moving on, you have Denver and Chicago. I'll lean to Chicago -2. I'm not touching this game. I mean, I'd have to lean to the under at 40, but that's still a very low total. Both offenses showed me nothing in week 1. I expect Joe Flacco to struggle. I expect Trubisky to show me nothing like he did in week 1. I'll lean to the over in sacks in that game, but overall, nothing to report. And the Saints and Rams, as I said before, I'll lean to the Saints, and I'll lean to the over 52. But for me, the play of the day will be on Alvin Kamara, over 55 receiving yards, which is available on 5 dimes at -115. Other than that, though, quick reminder of our sponsor, PointsBet, all in sportsbook in New Jersey. A couple of great deals for you. Up to 2 risk-free bets up to $1,000. So if you end up betting on any sports and you end up losing, you simply get your money back, though. Other than that, though, I will be making another video in roughly 12 hours. But that's going to do it for this installment of Scott's Selections here for Sunday, September 15th. Good luck to all of you and respected bets today. Bye, everyone.